Let's sketch one from my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu session. This is a photo taken of Professor Gamal and Papa Rich during a demonstration. Let's go. As all drawing, I always begin with the idea of gestalt or the outline. Ignoring the detail, but just making sure the outline is, number one, proportionally correct. Number two, it captures the essence of the edges, if you like the feet sticking out, the head, the hair, and so on and so forth. If you are able to get the whole ratio right, then filling in the gap, or rather giving the details within the gestalt outline, is much simpler. This is a very small sketch. I intend not to give too much detail, but to be able to capture the essence of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with the intertwined figures. As both Professor Gamal, the one standing up, and Papa Rich, the one on the floor, they are both in blue. Well, it doesn't really happen in most cases in when we are in gym, but it so happened on that day both are in blue. So I just got to figure out how to make sure that the two figures can be separated, and they are not too melted in. And one of the ways later on I'll show you is to using shadow. At this point, I am looking at the background and I'm using negative shapes to paint around where the back dropped is. In a way, it gives me an opportunity to paint the negative shape of the feet sticking out, clearly pushing the figures to the front. The other idea here is to use for the background, dropped in cadmium on very dark background. You can use any dark background and throw in any of the cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, and they will look fantastic. I mean, that's one of the tip that you can, I'm leaving here, you can use and try it. Cadmium on dark, that is. So now ready for the second layer of shadows of the figures, basically going in, drawing all the tiny shadow lines and so on. If I draw on a much bigger piece, I would soften lots of the edges, but because this is so small, I didn't quite bother, and just sort of ensuring that you can see where the shadow hits. Not very accurate, but it doesn't really matter. Your eyes will read somewhat the shadows, and actually that's sufficient. The next part here is to stain the dirty part of the floor, if you like, indicating some lines, and and that gives you an ability to draw a bit of the perspective lines. You can go stronger with those, but there's no real intention to bring too much attention to the floor line, but other than giving a sense of perspective, and I think that's pretty good enough. I soften lots of the edges using a stiff brush, just to take away some of those edges so that they are not too distracting. Now we're ready to kind of put in the skin tone, a little bit of Naples yellow, a touch of red. I didn't bother with putting down blue as a base coat, as I usually would, because this is really small, and if you're gonna do too many layers, it might just destroy it, so I didn't bother with it. Next up, more darks to indicate some of the lines and backdrop, and strengthening some of the edges that I think should be done, and I think that we're almost done at this point. There's really no point in putting in too much detail, just tiny touches of little darken, if you like, some parts, and also maybe taking care of some of the readability of the shadows, or the mask, and so on and so forth. I think sometimes we are loving our sketch by putting in lots of detail until we kill it with too much detail, so be very careful with that. So this would be the number 2 video on my Evolve BJJ sort of sketch. But of course this is taken from a photograph. I don't think I have the skills to be able to paint at the speed of BJJ, if you like. I don't think that's gonna ever happen. So you have to be from photograph, or it has to be from a quick sketch. But I think, yeah. But meantime, stay safe wherever you are. This is Whee Teck out.